Welcome to FlavorScience from FlavorSome, where we explore some of the formulation and flavor challenges that brands face with food and beverage product development.
Good afternoon, and welcome to FlavorSome's 19th episode of FlavorScience, Designing Beverage Experiences. I'm Philip Beckett. Lisa Jackson, who was originally supposed to host this webinar, is unavailable today, so I'm stepping into her place. I'm the Senior Consumer Insights Manager here at FlavorSome, and want to thank you for joining us today as we explore how appearance shapes taste expectations in refreshing beverages. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. Please submit any questions you have using the Q&A feature in the upper right corner of the Demio platform. We'll strive to answer as many as we can today. You'll be receiving a copy of these slides and a recording of today's session after we're done. We'll post the session on our website as well as on our podcast platform, FlavorScience from FlavorSome, that's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Joining me today is Bob Myra, Senior Applications Technician for Beverage. Bob, go ahead and introduce yourself and explain what we're doing today.
Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm sorry. I'm Bob Myra. I'm a Senior Beverage Scientist here at FlavorSome. And we're going to be looking at a presentation of three different orange flavor preparation approaches. And then we're going to discuss why formulators might choose each of these approaches.
Excellent. Thank you. One more housekeeping note. If you did receive samples to taste today, please take the time now to fill each syrup bottle with the seltzer water we asked you to have on hand. I have an image here showing you how high to fill the seltzer water above the shoulder of the bottle, but below the cap line. Reseal it and gently shake to mix the syrup. And when we open up for the tasting, just be careful. They are carbonated, so don't shake too vigorously or you'll be wearing this in addition to smelling it and tasting it.
Little added bonus. So formulators know that flavor experiences often begin with what people see. With beverages, visual characteristics like clarity, cloud, color, these really set the stage for a beverage's sensory experience, establishing expectations about flavor intensity, freshness, and overall quality. And so what happens if there is a gap between visual expectations and an actual taste? Product acceptance can drop off. Our example here shows on the right-hand side a cola colored beverage with an orange flavor or an orange colored beverage with a cola flavor versus something that is orange and will be orange flavored. This struggle also exists in newer beverages that we've seen, like clear coffee or transparent chocolate vodka. On the flip side, sometimes, however, this gap can create an unexpected visual that can create delight. We've seen a lot of innovation in clear protein beverages that still pack a protein punch, 10 grams of protein per serving, sort of taking that next step beyond the prebiotic, better for you sodas into really and jumping on the protein bandwagon. So understanding how visual cues can help shape flavor expectations allows developers to make more intentional, market-ready formulation decisions that connects what people see with what they ultimately experience. Bob, what do you think about what we just mentioned here? In development, customers rarely ask for a cloudy type beverage. They're asking for a drink experience. And our job is to translate that information into choices. Customers will be looking to fit into a specific segment in the beverage landscape. And we tap into our familiarity with the market and we make recommendations toward physical attributes that fit those products. And in the end, we expect that the customer will make the decision that best fits their goals.
Right. So coming at it from a couple different angles, potentially, end experience versus we want to develop this from the beginning with a very particular thing in mind. So want to mention what we're calling the first impression effect. So our brains just sort of, through evolutionary means are really hardwired to visually evaluate food and beverage safety before you consume it. And this really translates into how complex products and the expectations that people have when they're about to consume them. So the first impression effect with a beverage refers to how the physical appearance of a drink affects someone's willingness to consume it. Within seconds, a beverage can create sort of an immediate neurological shortcut about the quality, the flavor, the processing methods. For example, a clear or slightly hazy beverage is really associated with a light refreshment. That's up here on the upper left. Crystal clear to a light haze, it really, comes across as light and refreshing versus a rich and indulgent flavor. You wouldn't look at a Sprite type beverage and think that's going to taste like chocolate. That's a really severe disconnect between the color, the clarity, and the flavor expectations. When you get to something that has that light haze or is a little cloudier, people tend to think that this is going to be naturalness, contains real juice. Continuing with our beverage example, it has that cloudiness. There must be the real juice in here that's providing some of that turbidity and that cloudiness. Versus cloudy to very opaque drinks, people tend to think this is going to be very intense flavor or it's going to be very, very indulgent. Bob, just quickly want to ask you how each of the sort of components that go into a beverage, whether it's independent flavor components, cloudiness, and color, really provide that flexibility when you're designing a beverage.
In early stages of product development, we work with key components: a flavor, a color, and a clouding agent. And this allows for easy adjustments, to use 1, 2, or 3 in different ratios. Some clients would welcome a versatile cloud agent sometimes that they can use across many product lines. And the same can be said for an individual flavor that they may decide to blend with other products of their portfolio.
Right. So having those separate components can provide a lot of flexibility and versatility, not just within a product, but across a product line.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So for today's session, we're going to learn whether 3 visually different beverages deliver the same flavor experience. We'll begin by observing the appearance. So is it clear? Is it cloudy? Are there color differences between them? And then we're going to just, sort of taste those and compare the beverages. And from there, we'll discuss how you can apply what you discovered. Doing these side-by-side evaluations, really sort of seeing how the difference in appearance can affect the taste expectations. And you can really apply how that occurred. We actually did this in the real world. In late July of this year, we conducted a qualitative shopper test. This was in late July, as I mentioned, July 22nd. And we showcased the 3 beverages you're going to be tasting today in a random order to a number of people in the Kalamazoo, Michigan area. Participants answered questions about the appearance, aroma, the ingredients, what they think the ingredients are, the taste, and then the flavor intensity, and also what their preferred beverage was out of this. So now we're going to go ahead and get into sort of the first tasting. So this is a sample 412, hydrophase cloud plus select extract. We see that this is a 3-part system. It contains an independent flavor component, an independent color component, and then an independent neutral cloud emulsion, sort of what Bob was alluding to before. So at this time, go ahead and open the bottle, pour into one of the sample cups that we provided with you, and just take a smell. See what you think of the aroma. And I'm going to put a poll question up right now. In the upper right, you should see a tab that now says polls. And there's a question there. So when you look at and smell the aroma of sample 412, what flavor intensity would you expect? Do you think this is going to be a bold flavor just by the appearance? Do you think it's going to be a medium? Do you think it's going to be a light appearance? So once you've taken that smell and taken and answered the poll, I want you to go ahead and take a taste of that beverage. And as you're tasting, I want you to think about how well did the flavor experience that you have align with the visual expectations just based on looking at the product. And so now there's a second poll up here, number 2, how well did the flavor align with your expectations? I'll give everybody a moment to smell and taste those and answer the poll questions. And then for any people who are just listening out there, based on the first question, just based on look and smell of the beverage, it was pretty evenly split between medium flavor intensity and bold flavor intensity in terms of the expectations. In terms of actual flavor alignment to the expectations, most people said it is about what they expected. And now we want to share a video of some of those people that we spoke to a few weeks ago about their experience with this particular flavor or particular beverage. So I'm going to go ahead and share a video.
So taking a close look at this cup without touching or smelling it, based strictly on how this looks, what kind of orange flavor are you expecting? Does it look light, medium, or bold?
Bold.
Bold. All right.
Probably say medium.
Medium. Okay.
Yeah.
Bold.
Bold.
I would say light.
Light.
Medium.
Probably lighter than the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say medium.
Okay.
It looks lighter than the previous.
Light.
Maybe more bold.
Well, this has got to be the darkest, so I suppose I'll say bold.
And then based on how it looks, okay. Do you expect it to be a natural, clean label, traditional / standard, or artificial and processed?
It looks kind of natural.
Okay.
I honestly don't know why, but
Okay.
Probably artificial.
Okay.
Artificial.
Okay.
I would say traditional.
Okay. Ingredients.
Traditional.
Still within the range of like traditional American, but I feel like it looks more natural than the other one did.
Okay.
I feel like the more like red orange it is, like maybe it was dyed.
Yeah.
And when it's like a lighter orange, it's more of the natural orange you get from the ingredients.
There you go. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense.
Artificial.
Okay. What is it that makes it a little more artificial?
Oh, I would say they're both artificial. Just
Based on the appearance. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Looks natural. I like the fogginess.
Okay.
Like it's, it doesn't look like it's as watered down.
yeah, still artificial.
Natural. Yeah.
And then can you go ahead and pick it up and sniff it? Based on what you smell, would it be light, medium aroma, or bold and intense aroma?
Light.
Light.
Okay.
Medium.
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 A lighter aroma.
Definitely a lighter smell
Lighter
to it.
Say light.
Pretty light.
Still smells pretty light. Yeah.
Okay.
Last smell.
So based on what you just tasted, is that worse than you expected, exactly as you expected, or better than you expected?
Oh, in what regard? As far as the overall flavor, or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
pretty much what I expected.
Expected?
I'd say, yeah.
Okay. Did.
Better.
Okay.
As expected.
Okay.
It's actually
or better.
lighter, so worse.
Worse than you expected.
Mhm.
Okay.
Better.
I think it's a little better. That one tastes like more natural.
Okay. Great.
I like it.
Great.
It's sweeter than I expected. I prefer it a little less bold. It's
Okay.
a little punch me in the face,
A little
but
too strong. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Better.
Better.
That's good.
Better than I expected.
What makes it better?
It's a little stronger than from the smell.
Okay.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
All right.
And then if you're describing this to someone, would you say the flavor is too weak, just right, or too strong?
Maybe a little bit strong.
Okay.
Just right.
Just right.
Okay.
Weak.
it's just right.
It's just right for I think like more adults, honestly.
Yeah. You wanna
I feel like
elaborate
this
on that?
isn't gonna. I feel like this isn't gonna hurt my stomach. Basically, like if I have
That makes sense.
a couple glasses, you know.
Great.
Just right. Just right.
Just right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, Bob, within that video, a number of people were talking about the sense of the smell. Is there? Can you just sort of describe how smell and taste interact?
Absolutely. So much of our sense of taste is actually a partnership between our sense of smell and taste. If you can recall a time when you've had a cold and things just don't necessarily taste the way you think they should or what you recall, that's because you're not able to smell them as well, and that inhibits your ability to taste.
Yeah, I think that cold example is a perfect summarizes it perfectly. We've all been there. We've all experienced that. So when we took sort of the transcript of all of those discussions with people as they were tasting this particular sample, we put into a word cloud. Bigger words have, sort of more responses. And we saw quite a number of common themes. People thought it was going to be it had a lighter aroma. They expected it to be natural and with a bold flavor. And you see that down there in sort of the bottom right. A lot of people said just right. So a lot of taste expectations aligned with taste experiences aligned with their expectations. Is there anything in here, Bob, that surprises you, just sort of based on what people had been discussing?
No, because people, it's often said people taste with their eyes. So the visual cues that you get, the turbidity of the color, creates an expectation. And then sometimes when you finally taste a product, the expectation that you created from the appearance doesn't always line up. Sometimes it exceeds your expectations also. It doesn't look like it's going to be as full-bodied or as full-flavored as you had anticipated just by the appearance. So there's sometimes there is a disconnect based on visual clues. It alludes to what you were talking about earlier with the orange-colored cola or the cola-colored orange, that you have an expectation going in based on what you see, and then the taste and aroma kind of deliver the expectation, what you're hoping your expectations are looking for. And if I'm doing my job right, then yes, they do.
Yeah. And the one thing that stood out to me was a lot of people said that it looks natural. And I think that had to do, that one woman mentioned the fogginess. Mm-hmm. I think that had to do with the cloudiness, sort of that it seems like there's some natural juice in here providing that turbidity and that cloudiness.
Absolutely, yeah. Finished product with cloud and color provide a juice-containing perception. Consumers indicated that the naturalness that they would expect to see from a fresh natural ingredient containing with juice and other natural ingredients would be cloudy and have a full color.
For sure. Okay, so we're going to move on to our second sample of the day. This is sample 785. This is just a color and flavor solution. So we took the cloud emulsion out of here. So this one is the one that is water clear. It is orange, but it is water clear. So as you smell and then taste that again, two questions for you. Just based on appearance alone, appearance and smell, I guess, compared to the previous sample, do you expect this one to be lighter, about the same, or stronger in terms of taste? I put another poll up there for everybody. And then as you go ahead and taste, I'm going to put up a fourth poll. So based on the appearance, as you're tasting this, is the citrus flavor was lighter than you expected, about the same, or stronger than you expected? Again, just based on the appearance of this sort of water clear sample 785. And then as those are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and start playing the video again of those same people evaluating this sample.
Looking at the appearance, is it light, where it's weak flavor, medium, normal flavor, bold, intense flavor?
Medium flavor.
Medium. Yeah. Okay.
Bold.
Medium.
Okay.
Bold.
Bold.
Probably a bold.
I'm going to say light.
Okay.
I think it's going to be bold, almost like too sugary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Light.
Light.
Light. What makes it light?
You can see through it a little bit.
And then for the ingredients, would you think it's natural, traditional, or artificial?
Natural.
Okay.
Artificial.
Okay.
Clean, natural.
Okay.
So it looks more artificial.
Artificial.
I feel like it's more artificial.
I guess this seems a little more natural than the other two.
What makes it seem more natural?
It just looks like, it looks a lot more like just water with things added to it.
Okay.
As opposed to, I don't know, it's more clear.
Okay.
So artificial.
Artificial.
Artificial. Again, because it's a soda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would probably say artificial. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a soda?
Yeah, that would be my thought. Yeah, orange soda. I doubt it's orange juice.
Does this have a light aroma, medium aroma, or bold aroma?
Light.
Light.
Weak.
Weak. Okay.
Light.
Light.
Medium.
It was lighter than expected.
Bold.
I'd say light.
Bold.
I'd say closer to bold.
I would say it's pretty light aroma.
Would you say that is worse than you expected, exactly as you expect, or better?
And this was again in regard to like
Flavor?
the flavor.
Yeah.
Better. I mean, it tastes exactly same as the other
Okay.
one.
All right. Fair enough.
Probably like exactly as I expected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Better.
Better.
Exactly.
This is exactly how I would expect. Like, this is what I think like of like when I have an orange soda.
Okay. Like a traditional orange
Yeah.
soda.
Better than I thought. This one's very good.
Okay.
It's better.
Better than you expected? Okay.
I don't know if worse is the right word, but lighter than I expected.
Tastes good.
Yeah.
As I thought, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then if you're describing this to someone, too weak, just right, or too strong.
A little bit strong.
Okay.
Maybe a little too weak.
Okay.
It's right. It's good.
I think it's just right.
Probably just right.
Just right. Like when I this is just
I'd say it's at a perfect level for me.
Okay.
I think it's almost too strong.
I mean, it's probably just right. It's just from the smell.
Just right.
So, Bob, just quick question. So this one is the water clear versus the cloudy one that we looked at first.
Yes.
What do you think that it's happening there where there's the color influence without the cloud?
Well, again, just color, again, creates its own expectations. One of the panelists said that, because it was clear, it didn't look like it had anything, artificial in it. Others said that they thought it was artificial because it had color, but it seemed to have any juice containing ingredients. So it's all a matter of perception. It is a good, strong orange, dark orange color is very bold. So the boldness of the color may have also had some effect on what they feel that they're tasting. Because it looks dark and strong, it must be strong and full flavored.
Again, that tasting with your eyes,
Exactly.
first thing.
Exactly.
And so you touched on a few things there. So this is the word cloud from all of those responses. And you've mentioned several words that, our panelists said as well. Bold. We heard a lot more discussion around artificiality because it doesn't have that cloudiness that kind of brings in that naturalness. The aroma was still considered light, and we still see just right. So it was the flavor expectations were pretty much aligning with what people thought.
That was my objective.
Yeah, perfect. Do you have any other like a real world example of this where there's an actual product that was made where it's clear beverages versus sort of flavor intensity, that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. Years ago, I worked on a bold color, cloudy hydration beverage line extension. Market research had showed that moms were looking for a clear option for their children to help overcome issues with staining their clothing or the upholstery. When we paneled it with the moms, they loved it. And then we took the same product and we paneled it with the children. They hated it because they felt it was too watered down and it was too weak because it didn't have any color or cloud to it. So again, tasting with the eyes and meeting expectations based on what you see. And obviously the children's expectation, because it looked like water, it must have been watered down.
Yeah, and I guess that tells you that, especially when designing products for kids, there's really two target customers in that one transaction.
Absolutely.
There's the parents buying it, and then there's the kids who you don't want them just throwing it away in the lunchbox.
Yeah, so, yeah. Well, what's the driving factor behind the purchases? Is it not wanting to have stains on my clothes or not wanting to throw away products because my kids won't drink them?
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to move on to our last demo, last taste of the day. This is sample 309. This is what we're calling the all-in-one system. And Bob, you can probably explain this a little better, but this is really sort of a drop-in solution versus a customizable component.
Yes, yeah. This is an ingredient that contains the cloud, the color, the flavor all in one. Beverage production is happiest when they have the simplest manufacturing process. So a single ingredient that can provide everything across the spectrum that the finished beverage is going to need shortens manufacturing time And then, as we all know, time is money.
Yeah, so this is more of a drop-in solution.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So as you all are smelling, looking, tasting this, I dropped another poll. How well did the appearance of this one and the flavor work together? I just sort of want to get that broader view as you're tasting. And while you're tasting and answering that, we're going to play another video of our panelists.
So based on
Working on this one.
appearance, would you say this has light flavor, medium flavor, or bold flavor?
Medium.
Bold.
Bold.
Light.
Light.
I think medium.
Okay.
Medium.
Medium.
Medium. Okay.
Bold.
Medium.
Light.
Well, I would say more medium. So got a little more, less clear than the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for ingredients, based on how it looks, would you say this is natural, traditional, or artificial?
Traditional.
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 It looks traditional.
Artificial.
I feel like traditionally American.
Okay. And why do you say that about this one?
I've seen British orange soda and it looks completely different.
Yeah, that's a good.
But when I think of orange soda, that's how it looks.
Yeah. Okay.
Based on
appearance.
based on appearance, I would say the picture would feel more natural.
Okay.
Traditional.
Probably artificial.
What makes you say that?
Well, it's a soda.
Maybe more traditional.
Okay.
Based on how it smells, would you say weak aroma, normal aroma, or intense aroma?
Normal.
Probably medium.
Light.
I feel like it's medium. I feel like they all sniff the same.
Okay.
Light.
They were bold.
Bold.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Perfect.
Say medium.
Light.
Medium.
I still think it's pretty light smell. Should I sniff that again, or is
You
that?
can,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I would say I can't tell much difference.
Okay, so we'll do light
Smell.
there.
Yeah, light. Yeah.
And then please take a sip. Worse than you expected, exactly as you expected, or better?
Worse.
Worse. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'd say exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Better.
Is there like vanilla in it or something?
We're
A
not
little
sharing
bit.
ingredients,
Okay,
but
I'm
I'm
like,
glad
there's
you're picking up
definitely-
something.
Something in there that makes it better.
Okay. Than you expected.
Uh-huh.
Great. That's great to hear.
It's about what I expected. It's pretty good.
It's honestly better than
Better
what
than
I
you
expected.
expected.
Yeah.
About what I expect.
I'd say worse. I like that one better.
What made this one a little bit less attractive, less tasty?
It doesn't taste as much like orange soda, maybe as what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you were describing this to someone, would you say too weak, just right, too strong?
Too strong.
Okay.
Just right.
Just right.
Just right.
Okay.
No, I think it's good. Just right.
Just right.
I think it's just right.
Just right.
I would say it's pretty strong.
Okay, good.
I'd still say it's too strong.
Just right.
It's maybe just it's not as much intensity. Just the flavor is maybe just not exactly what I would have pictured.
So we see a lot of variation there between the three different samples on what people perceive based on appearance and then tasting it. And we see that within the word cloud. We see for this one, medium, just right, traditional popped up quite a bit, still that light aroma, better and bold. So sort of getting back to how this is a drop-in solution, Bob, I know each system can sort of support a different product objective. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, flavor types are easier to produce sometimes. Some specific flavor types are easier to produce sometimes as a multi-part system, and a simpler raw material deck may often provide some cost savings for a customer while still supporting their expectations. At the end of the day, though, the client's going to take all the data, the cost, the consumer testing, everything, and kind of end up picking up the flavor types that will best suit their needs and for their product launch. So, sometimes a one-part system is what works best, and other times the versatility of a multi-part system is much more effective. So it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what suits the needs of the client the best.
Okay, excellent. All right, so two more polls. I promise we'll stop putting everybody on the call to work. But just based off of what you've tasted and saw and seen today, which one would you pick? Which, if you were going to buy a 12 pack, which one would you take home? 412, 785, or 309? As it's coming in, just looking back, seems like for the last one, the appearance and flavor worked pretty well together. One person thought not at all. That's okay. We won't hold that against you. So it really looks like it's split between 309, which was the all-in-one, and then the 412, which was the water clear one. Oh, excellent. Let's see how our panelists voted.
You just hold it up to Colin and maybe give us a smile.
Yeah.
That's your winner?
Yes.
All right. Who's your winner? All
That's my
right.
winner. It's just really crisp. It was a little, like, this one was a little flatter. I felt like it still had good orange flavor, but I felt like this one was a little more like crisp and fresh and had really good orange flavor.
Okay.
So 785.
785. Could you tell us more about why you picked that beverage?
I think that had the best flavor overall. Like that one was really weak to me. So that one seemed like the best flavor overall.
Okay.
Not too strong, not too sweet. It was like it smelled.
Yeah, I'll do this one, I guess.
Okay. Will you face
Yeah.
Colin with it? Oh, sorry. Flip it.
Sorry.
There you go. You're good. All right. And then
right.
what made you choose this one?
Just a little more flavor.
Okay.
Yep, and
Can
that
you-
one. That one's a little lighter.
Lighter.
Yep.
Okay. Did you dislike this one?
No.
Or no, you said
No,
you
it was
liked all
fine.
three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like the flavor. Like there's something in here that I just really liked. Like it almost tastes like a cream soda, but it's not.
Okay.
I don't know.
Great.
Yay! But what was it about the flavor that you liked?
It was a lighter flavor.
Lighter flavor. Okay. Ta-da! And that's it. 309. Why did you like that one?
I think it had the best flavor overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all we needed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd say this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it seems more bubbly.
Okay.
It's not too strong or anything. It's a good flavor, yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, I misspoke there. Split between 412 and which is our 3-part system, and then 309, which is the all-in-one. And what we saw here, and especially looking at the poll, is that there's a disconnect between different people. So it's really about what you're aiming to do. With this poll here, the winner with our consumer panel was that the water clear one here. The turbidity really sort of won the day, as it would. So it's very interesting and important to do that consumer testing to make sure that you're achieving the taste expectations that you want. I'm going to put up one more poll. So after tasting all 3 beverages, which sample delivered best on the expectation created by the experience? So not necessarily which one would you purchase in your own life, but just based on flavor expectation, based on appearance, and then how it actually tasted. How well was that the match? And so as these are coming in, it seems like the all-in-one, the sample 309, is sort of leading the charge, but it is a bit of a mixed bag, which is to be expected. Everybody has sort of their own personal tastes. And so now that we've gone through all of these tastings, we can actually share with you. These actually all had the exact same flavor system in them. The only difference was the cloud and some of the color components. So it was the same flavor of all 3 beverages. It was just sort of that visual cue and that taste expectation altered, or the visual cues altered the taste expectations of the final beverage, which is just why designing one of these products is so important to sort of win the day. And so, Bob, why do you think that this, the one that our qualitative respondents from a few weeks ago, why do you think 785 was the winner for this group of people?
Well, I think it probably did the best job of matching appearance expectations to the taste. There must have been more of a disconnect between the two cloudy products for a lot of the consumers. I remember hearing some comments from, especially from the clear one, that it looked like what an orange soda, what they're used to seeing an orange soda look like.
Sort of nostalgic.
Yes, and it was more traditional. So at the end of the day, you had the mind and the eyes and everything else are going to create an expectation for you. And this one, with this particular group of people, this one aligned with the expectation of the most people. Whereas, with the group that we have here with us today, the all-in-one system did that. So, I would be interested to see if we were to combine the data from the external poll and the internal poll, where we would fall. Would there be a big shift one way or the other, or would still kind of line up? So it's interesting to see how individual preferences and expectations play such a great role in what's deemed acceptable and what's not.
Absolutely. And also, let's not forget, a lot of it, we're in the food industry, so we have some additional education and knowledge as well.
Yes.
So how did each of these beverages this is sort of the full breakout of what the consumer panel thought in terms of flavor expectations. The 309, they thought it was going to be a medium flavor. The other two, the 3-part system and the water clear one, they thought it was going to be a lighter flavor. In terms of ingredients, sort of a mixed bag. Each one was either deemed more natural, more traditional, or more artificial. Based on the aroma, no surprise because it is all the same flavor system. Light flavor, everybody sort of got that light aroma off, light flavor expectation off of the aroma. Taste expectations, two of them, 402 and 785. People thought they tasted better than expected, whereas the 1-part system, 309, they thought it tasted as expected. Flavor intensity, everybody, all three were deemed to be just right. And then overall feedback, there was not a lot of difference between just overall feedback. Everybody either liked or loved all of them. Even if there was a bit of a taste experience difference, but they all said, oh, it's still good. And of course, the overall winner of the 85, the sort of the water clear in that test. And so really sort of to wrap up, really sort of want to think about the beverage experience you want to deliver, really needing to consider what shoppers expect. So for a crystal clear beverage, that cues up refreshing and transparent, a lot of lightness cues because it doesn't have that turbidity. And this is actually best enabled by one of our technologies, Select Extract, really controlled extraction process of citrus type flavors for a citrus type beverage. With the cloudy, this really has sort of that juice inspired appearance. It cues up naturalness and it cues up some mouthfeel. Think of an orange beverage versus an actual orange juice. This sort of pulls up that mouthfeel expectations. And this really is sort of promoted best by Select Extract plus that hydrophase cloud. So it's sort of that 3-part system. And then the all-in-one. This is much more on that classic orange soda, that nostalgia. And this is, as Bob mentioned, sort of that integrated delivery when it comes to manufacturing. And this is really best enabled by that hydrophase cloud all-in-one. And so, Bob, as we sort of think about these systems that people might pick, what do we have to, what are your thoughts on different systems for different types of beverages?
Well, the beverage landscape is always shifting. 20 years ago, functional beverages were primarily isotonic hydration beverages like Gatorade or Powerade or Everlast. And they all provided the consumer with a fruit flavor that were cloudy and bright color in both flavors. And they looked and tasted in the mind of the consumer like they contained juice. Today, functional beverages that are designed are usually better for you type, botanical botanicals, vitamins, minerals, and natural colors. That often the opacity comes from the ingredients themselves. So the need of the customer, we kind of try to help them understand it and help define it for us so that we can help. It helps us to determine which type of flavor that's going to work best for them, whether it be a select extract, a hydrophase, or a combination of the two.
Yeah, so it really, to me, it sounds like it's a combination of who's the core customer base, like who do you think you're targeting, who are your current customers, what type of beverage is it to begin with, and so there's a lot that comes into play early on in development that helps determine sort of the flavor solution, the color solution, the cloud.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of discussion early on between the client, the product developers, sometimes their marketing and our sales team, and we kind of try to hone in on what they're, is there something out in the market that they're trying to be in the same category as, or is this a line extension for something they're already marketing, and helping them to decide what type of flavor format is going to best suit their needs.
Perfect. Well, with that, we're going to move on to our Q&A. I see a few that have come in. This one, I guess, I'll start off. Question is, what else would you want to explore if you expanded this research? To me, I think an interesting exploration would be to kind of do the same exercise, but focus on one of the beverages and move the flavor intensity up and down to really dial in sort of what the level of orange flavor in the 309 should be exactly. Make one a little lighter, make one as is, and then make one a little heavier. And that could really help sort of determine sort of that flavor profile that is most expected by this appearance. Let's see, I have one here. How does that label the hydrophase cloud on sample 309? It read natural orange flavor WOMF. Bob, do you know how this particular flavor that went into the sample 309, that drop in all in one, how does that appear on the ingredient deck?
Yeah, it would be a natural orange flavored WOMF cloud or a malt.
So on an ingredient deck, it would just be natural flavor?
Well, yes, but there are some ingredients that are in an emulsion formula that do need to be declared under USDA regulations. Like there's an emulsifying agent, which is usually either a gum arabic or a purity starch, a modified food starch, and also the weighting agent, which is quite typically is an ingredient called ester gum, which is a wood rosin. So those by USDA standards need to be declared as well. And also any colors, whether they be natural or synthetic, also need to be called out on their label.
Okay. So for this one, it's very dependent on which system actually goes in. Even if it is an all-in-one, it could change based on, is it an orange, is it a grape, is it intended for a soda, is it intended for an isotonic? There's a lot of variation that goes into it.
Well, it depends on what the expectations are. If they're looking for something that's an all-in-one that's going to provide color, cloud, and flavor, it can be used in a wide range of finished products. And as I mentioned, there are certain ingredients that are inherent in that type of flavor that do need to be declared, as opposed to with a select extract. The only thing then that's declared, and from the flavor standpoint, is that it's a natural flavor WOMF. But if you were to add color, that becomes part of the beverage base, and that too would still need to be declared.
Excellent. All right. And actually, sort of a similar question to that, or sort of a follow-up question to that, and I think this is all the time we have. But how much flexibility does a formulator have to adjust that cloud, color, and flavor intensity once they've picked an approach? So let's say they pick the three-part system. How much flexibility is there in tweaking and turning the dials on each of those individual components?
Well, the appearance is going to dictate. So if the customer's got a target product in mind, they say that we want to be like this current market product that's on, and we want it to look like this. So we're gonna create it in such a way that it has similar opacity, has a similar taste intensity, and a similar color profile. If it's something that's new, then we may make recommendations to the customer on appearance based on what we know the category is kind of saying. So like years ago, Gatorades were all bold and bright color and a lot of cloud. Then they came out with a new line that was lower in sugar, and to differentiate that, they put in less opacity and more muted colors. So a lot of times the category will dictate the appearance, and then it'll affect how we formulate it.
All right, excellent. And I believe we are just at time. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who joined. Appreciate all the questions that came in. Appreciate all the responses to the polls. Really great engagement. And please keep an eye out for this coming out on our podcast pages on our website. You will get a copy of this. And also, please keep an eye out for our next webinar, which will be later this fall. So again, thank you, and have a good rest of your day.
Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you very much.
At FlavorSome, we combine expertise, responsiveness, and infrastructure to deliver an all-in-one solution that helps growing food and beverage companies improve their speed to market. Whether you want to formulate with a tried-and-true flavor or innovate with a brand new creation, having a great flavor partner accelerates your success. Part of our mission is making flavor sourcing more efficient, effective, and enjoyable, with best-in-class responsiveness, competitive lead times, and products designed to meet your goals. Work with us to create the delicious new products your customers are craving.